SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Whether you're looking to start a career with no student loans or change careers to land one of the happiest jobs in the world, yep, that's construction, Build Mississippi can help. Visit buildmississippi.com to learn why a career in the trades deserves another look. Buildmississippi.com. Your future is waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Morning.
Believe me, baby.
Good to be with you. Welcome to the start of a new week today. Today is September 15th, middle of the month. And don't blink, but a month from now, October 15th, then we're November 15th, which means we're like a week from Thanksgiving and 3 months from Christmas basically being here. We flip the calendar, legislature rolls back to town, and we start it all over again. But what a great, great, great time of the year. You got leaves starting to fall right now, but they're not necessarily like the bright colors, not the reds and the yellows and the oranges. It's just
they're just dead. Yeah.
They're just dead. They're tired of being hot on the branch and just withering up and falling. So that's not necessarily the prettiest kind. It's going to cool off a little bit over the next couple of weeks, and we got fall on the way. We got football going on, high school, junior high, college, junior college, or community college. Dove season has come and gone. How long does dove season stay open?
Man, it ain't very long. Yeah, I can't remember.
A couple of weeks?
Yeah. Maybe
it's over.
I think it's a month.
Over.
Yeah. I didn't see anybody dove hunting, so.
No. Just a few days from deer season getting started. Man, what a great time of year.
It's the velvet season right now, if I remember.
I think that's right. Then you get into bow.
Mm-hmm.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and, of course, on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is open to you. Last message that is left open from the weekend, sometime on Saturday, somebody sent us a message that said, how about them Commodores?
Yeah. We're big fans of the, behind the rear admiral, in front of the captain, the Commodore.
Yeah, well, Diego Pavia, call him whatever
Beast.
you want, but Vanderbilt, yeah, they got the win
easily too.
Unless that was somebody that was taking a shot at the Lafayette Commodores, who came up on the short end of the Crosstown Classic on Friday night. Go Chargers.
Well, you're a grad of the Charger world.
I am.
That's a good little rivalry too.
That is a very good rivalry.
Oxford seems to have dominated it recently, though.
Yeah. I can be gracious about it.
You weren't rubbing it in.
Not at all. Not at all.
Now, I don't remember when I lived in Oxford, were they playing this game as early in the season as they do now? I thought for a while.
It's been played all over.
It's been all over the place, yeah.
For the longest time when I was involved with it, so from late 80s through the late 90s, it was the last game of the year. Was that you finished the year?
Yeah, I remembered that.
We were in the same division, so it was a division game each year, and then it has changed as Oxford and Lafayette have both grown, but at different paces. Oxford's in higher classification, so it's not a region game, so they don't play it at the end of the year. They move it up. It's been played as the first game of the year. It's been played, week 3, the last little bit, but there's nothing sacred about the date on the schedule for that one anymore.
Yeah. I was curious.
Not anymore. 601-879-4395. Ray and Forrest tells us the first dove season for the north half of the state is open until September 30th. Thank you. I need to print that and keep it handy.
Yeah, I have it open somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's last year's, so that it doesn't really help me much. I need to get this year's open.
Let's see here. They were shooting all around my house on Saturday. That's from Amanda in Pike County.
I just didn't hear any this weekend.
Kyle, curious about my studio setup. He says, is that a print or an original oil painting hanging to your right? That is an original.
I'll say he's not a print guy.
My friend, my wife had this done for me. I guess I can pan the video. My friend Bradley Gordon, who is one of the most talented people I know, did that. So it's kind of an old-style microphone. I guess it's in an old-style Shure microphone, S-H-U-R-E. Oh, sorry. You're getting, the whole... It's probably not great radio if you're not watching.
Yeah.
So there you got the old Charger helmet there.
Yeah,
so yeah, a lot of color, and if you really, really zoom in, you can't tell how much color is in that. Because it kind of is painted to give it the chrome microphone look. No, I'm really proud of that. Thanks for noticing, Kyle. Hey, let's jump in. We got lots and lots and lots to get to, and we'll start with the weather. Corinth, you've got intervals of clouds and sunshine with a stray shower or thunderstorm possible. High around 90 today. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Water Valley. Partly cloudy skies today with a stray shower or thunderstorm possible. High of 92, winds light and variable. Crystal Springs, south of Jackson, partly cloudy. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible with a high of 92, winds light and variable throughout the day in Crystal Springs. And a little farther south in D'Iberville, sunshine and clouds mixed, high around 90. Northeast winds shifting to the south-southeast. Going to be kind of breezy at 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's kind of what's happening from a weather standpoint across the state of Mississippi today. Marco Polo was born on this day in 1254. He was an Italian explorer born in Venice, part of the Venetian Republic, and inventor of one of the great swimming pool games of all time.
Yeah.
Marco!
I wonder if people know him more for the swimming pool game or for, being an Italian explorer.
Oh, 100% for the swimming pool game. And most people have no idea why the swimming pool game is called Marco Polo. You're exploring. You're blindfolded, don't know where you're going, looking for things, people. James Fenimore Cooper was born on this day in 1789. The first major American novelist, wrote The Last of the Mohicans. Born in Burlington, New Jersey. How much do you know about W.H.T., William Howard Taft? Born in 1857. You probably know that he was the 27th president of the United States, a Republican that served from 1909 until 1913. Did you know that he was also Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Born in Cincinnati, Ohio. The only person, man, woman, or otherwise, to serve as president. Sorry, that was a joke. And as a Supreme Court justice. And not just Supreme Court justice, but Chief Justice. In fact, that was, at the time, Chief Justice, a position that was appointed by the president.
He appointed himself, huh?
No.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but, good for him.
Well, and you think if you're the president, then you probably need to be the Chief Justice, right? You don't want to be the Vice Chief Justice type guy. I mean, you were the man in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you got to stay on top.
Yeah. Agatha Christie was born on this day in 1890, an English crime writer, Murder on the Orient Express, Mousetrap, and so many others.
Man, they've been pumping them out lately, too, as far as the movies.
Yeah. Oliver Stone, born in 1946, screenwriter, film director. Pretty good resume for him. Wall Street, born on the 4th of July, Platoon, JFK.
I love JFK and I love Wall Street. Those are probably my two favorites of his. But,
yeah? Platoon's not it?
I love Platoon. It's a great movie. I mean, Charlie Sheen is amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
Before he kind of goes off the deep end and comes back to reality, but he's kind of gaining his popularity. But man, it's just some great movies. Born on the 4th of July is a great movie too. A little seedy and testy, and you got all the protest era. It's a very interesting look. Talented man.
One of the great actors. I'd say underrated.
Yeah.
Great actors of our generation, 78 years old today. Tommy Lee Jones, born in 1946. The Fugitive, Executioner's Song, Bloody Monday, so
Don't
many
forget
more.
Under Siege with Steven Seagal.
Oh, yes. The great Steven Seagal. Dan Marino was born on this day in 1961. College and Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback.
Best hair ever.
University of Pittsburgh, 9-time Pro Bowler, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, 3-time first-team All-Pro. No Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Born in Pittsburgh. Prince Harry, 41 today.
I want my privacy. Give me my privacy.
Duke of Sussex, 5th in the British line of succession. Born in London. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Nothing wrong with being friends, 'cause sometimes she lets me use the car.
From the Bettable Glass Trap.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Sister tell your brother tell your auntie tell your uncle tell my cousin tell my friend. Going up the country, mama, don't you wanna go? May take me a fair run, may take one or two more. Big 80 left Savannah, blowing and did not stop. You oughta saw that colored fireman when he got them ballin' hot. You can
Monday morning with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us, for being part of the conversation. A lot of your messages coming in. Dove season runs through the end of January. It's on and off, but more on than off.
Yeah, that's the one that's a little difficult to find on the list. Archery 12th through the 14th, and then October 1st as far as that season. Mm-hmm. And then there's others, small game. You got teal season coming up on the 20th. So, but it's hard to find dove. That's the one I was actually looking for.
Yeah. Somebody says nobody just hunts them, though, any other time.
Well, there it is. Okay,
weekend.
September 1st through 30th. There we go. All right, and then October 18th through 16th, December 27th through January 25th. So there you go.
Got some options if you are,
through the end
are
of the
so
month.
inclined. C-Spire text line.
Oh, and
Morning,
remember
Richard.
Finkel and Einhorn, right? Finkel and Einhorn. Laces out. Laces out. Finkel and Einhorn. Dan Marino. And he had those great surf pants, too, that he advertised for a while. I can't remember.
And isotoner gloves.
That's right. I remember the isotoners. Great advertising. Probably a bank account there. That dude was reeling it in.
Morning, Richard. Want to say good job on the state game. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate you watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Whew.
Yeah, that was a marathon for you.
We will. We'll get to that coming up in sports. Coming up in just a moment. Ed, thank you. I appreciate the compliment as well.
I think Taft was the one. He was a horse, basically, wasn't he?
Had to install an extra large bathtub for William Howard Taft in the White House.
I think that was the truth there.
Got stuck in the bathtub? How about that?
Didn't have the crane available. Wonder who all they had to holler. It's like horse and buggy. Like, pull the horse and buggy around. Get the pulleys. Got to get this boy out of here.
This day in 1928, Scottish bacteriologist Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin while sorting through petri dishes containing colonies of the bacteria Staphylococcus. Some nasty stuff. But bacteria gets rid of the staph. Penicillin gets rid of the staph. If you're not allergic to it, but a lot of people are.
Man,
1949.
I had a bad allergy to a penicillin, Keflex, when I was a kid. That was rough. Ooh.
Yep. 1949, Lone Ranger premiered on ABC TV. Hi-yo, Silver away! Lone Ranger is a fictional, masked former Texas Ranger who fought outlaws in the American Old West with his Native American friend, Tonto. The character has been called an enduring icon of American culture.
It was originally a radio show.
It was. Thousands of episodes on the radio. I guess this guy must like his job. Carl XVI Gustaf ascended to the throne in Sweden on this day in 1973. Still there.
Still there.
I mean, there probably are worse jobs out there than being the king of Sweden.
Sweden
had it rolling for a while. They have taken on some policies in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, that have caused it to be far less safe. It's almost like opening your borders with no rules is not a good plan. Hard to control who comes in. This day in 1981, United States Senate Judiciary Committee unanimously approved Sandra Day O'Connor for the United States Supreme Court. She became the first woman on the Supreme Court. It's a big deal.
Yes,
big deal.
There was a good one there, too. You probably remember this one here. Giambattista Castagna. He was elected. Yeah, he was elected Pope Urban VII, and he died 12 days later from malaria. Not a good run.
No, short run.
Yeah.
Short run. Do you remember this television show?
Yeah, brings back some memories.
You remember that one?
The song was iconic.
L.A. Law. Debuted in 1986, first broadcast of legal drama L.A. Law, created by Stephen Bochco, including Corbin Burnson, Jill Eikenberry, Harry Hamlin. It was on NBC. In addition to L.A. Law, I mean, you want to talk about a run for a television writer, director, producer. Stephen Bochco created L.A. Law. He also had Hill Street Blues, Doogie Howser, MD, and NYPD Blue.
I loved Hill Street Blues. Mm-hmm. You get that song in your head and it won't go away. It's kind of like saying Elsewhere, you know.
That's right. Meatloaf had a big one on this day. 1993, released the single I'd Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That, composed by Jim Steinman, released again on this day, September 15th, 1993, went on to be number one in 28 countries.
Solid actor, too.
I would do anything. Yeah, that one.
Played a great bad guy in movies.
Meatloaf did?
Yeah, man, he's excellent. Good heel.
The late Meatloaf, right? Mm-hmm. SpaceX on this day in 2021 launched its first all-civilian space flight from Cape Canaveral, Florida for a 3-day orbit around the Earth. 3 years ago, tennis great Roger Federer hung it up, announcing his retirement from professional tennis at the age of 41 with 20 Grand Slam titles, 103 ATP wins.
Hey, would you put him in, if you had to put Sampras in his prime against Federer, would you, I mean, again, I'm
Roger Federer 100 times out of 100.
You think so? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was just so dominant, man. I mean, in his run.
Just everything. Just it's hard to wrap your mind around just how good he was.
Yeah, I don't play tennis, but I have a Roger Federer racket. You know?
There you go.
Yeah, so
there you go.
I wouldn't have bought
one of the great
Sampras
marketing decisions of all time. Walked away from Nike and basically a lifetime deal at Nike, and people were like, "What are you doing?" And he joined this Swiss tennis shoe brand called On Cloud. You've seen the On Cloud running shoes. Mm-hmm. And he took a stake in the company. I think he got a little cash up front, but got a stake in the company. He's turned into like a $3 billion win for Roger Federer. It was a year ago today when on a golf course in South Florida, Ryan Ruth was attempting to assassinate former and now current President Donald Trump. Spotted by the Secret Service while the presidential candidate was playing golf, ran off, got in his car, got away, finally got him. Still, that to me, we still don't know enough about Butler, Pennsylvania, and that's a problem. Somebody knows. There's a lot we don't know about Butler, Pennsylvania. We're still learning about this Charlie Kirk stuff. Man, it feels like there's a lot we don't know about Ruth and the South Florida assassination attempt. And maybe that's just how the Secret Service wants it. Maybe it's how the CIA wants it. Maybe they're afraid it's going to expose flaws in the way they protect a high-value target. Maybe it's the deep state. Maybe they don't really want you to know who's involved. Maybe they're worried about upsetting the global order. If you really know. Now, I'm not trying to put on a tinfoil hat this morning. I'm not trying to fly around in a black helicopter. But there was a man hiding in the woods with a rifle with more of them in the back of his trunk, parked over on the side of the road, and he was there to try and take out the president, and it was the second assassination attempt in 3 months. And what do we know about that cat other than his trial's starting? Have I missed something, Lance? I mean, do we know more about Ruth, R-O-U-T-H, than I'm giving credit for now?
No, I mean, I don't. And I went as deep as you could probably go during the month or so that you really had information coming out. And that was one of those, similar to Butler, was just not a lot there. And the further you try to dig, it just seems like conspiracy stuff. You don't seem to get a lot of corroborated things. So you got to watch yourself with a lot of that because you start jumping off into the deep end of crazy.
Richard, you need to put someone else in charge of your music list other than myself. I mean, Lance crushes it on the music. I'll have no Lance slander as it pertains to music.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the confidence. Greatly appreciated.
I guess you're saying you don't like me playing movie clips or TV clips, L.A. Law?
I think that was the music list that I play, so thank you. Yeah. Appreciate your input.
No, you got outvoted on that. Lance going to be in charge of the music. An investigation has been launched into an officer-involved shooting in Hancock County, leaving one person dead. According to the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, deputies with the Hancock County Sheriff's Office responded to a domestic violence call where the subject was said to be holding an individual captive along Highway 604 in Pearlington. On arrival, the subject displayed a weapon at the deputies, resulting in the deputies discharging their firearms. Here's how that worked. Point the gun at you. Put the gun down, drop it, get on the ground, get on the ground. No, boom. It's not complicated. Don't point a gun at a cop. Subject received fatal injuries. Who could have seen that coming? No officers were injured in the encounter. MBI assessing the incident, continuing to gather evidence. All findings will be turned over to the Office of the Attorney General for the state of Mississippi. We'll have some more news headlines, some sports headlines for you, with you, when we come back. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Zebra.
What's different about us? I don't really know. No matter how I try, I just can't make her cry. What you trying to do now?
Thanks for joining us this morning. Yesterday, lawmakers, Trump administration officials, and other dignitaries honored the memory of the conservative pundit Charlie Kirk at a public vigil. It was held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and I think the crowd was larger than perhaps anticipated. It ended up having to turn people away after a capacity crowd made its way in. Speaker Mike Johnson was among the first to speak at the memorial, remarking on the, quote, mixture of unspeakable sadness and grief and anger and even fear. Even on Capitol Hill, the leaders of the nation have been shaken. Went on to say it's as if the ground was shifted beneath us. We all felt it deep, deep inside. And in spite of that, we remember that our dear friend Charlie would never want us to be overcome by despair. He would want exactly the opposite. That was Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary at HHS, who ran for president on the Democrat ticket before launching an independent bid and who now leads Health and Human Services, recalled meeting Kirk for the first time on his podcast 4 years ago. Credited Kirk with bringing them together with Trump's campaign in 2024. About that podcast meeting, RFK said, I went on his podcast, and I think we approached each other with a lot of trepidation at that time, but by the end of the podcast, we were soulmates. We were spiritual brothers. We were friends. And over the next couple of years, our friendship blossomed. He ended up being a primary architect of my unification with President Trump. There is another memorial service coming for Charlie Kirk next Sunday in Glendale, Arizona. He lived in Phoenix. It's going to be at the football stadium, the home of the Arizona Cardinals. They're expecting 60 to 70,000 people, and President Trump will be attending, or said he will be. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, yesterday in a New York Times op-ed, officially endorsed New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. She announced her endorsement in a New York Times piece stressing the importance of working together with the city's mayor. The question of who will be the next mayor is one I take extremely seriously and to which I have devoted a great deal of thought. And after all of the polls come out and it has become abundantly clear this is the only person that has a chance to win the mayor of New York, I am wholeheartedly endorsing him.
Ooh.
Actually, I made that last part up. But it does seem curious. It does, right? At no point in this process until it became abundantly clear that the people who have the right to choose whomever they want to at the polls, because the other thing I was thinking about was saying the idiot residents of New York City. I'm not going to say that. The people, I'm not going to engage in demeaning political rhetoric. They are going to elect a Democratic socialist. He's basically a communist. They're not. He is not being forced upon them. The people of New York City are electing a proclaimed Democrat socialist to run arguably the most important city on planet Earth. Who? And what does Hochul say? Oh, he's going to be great. I give him my full support. All right. CC and Sinatobia. I'm not going to say what I just said. Yeah, something like that. I can't read you any more about that. Lance, I have a story that is going to interest you and infuriate you, but we'll hold it for later. It's not breaking news.
Okay.
Fairly evergreen story about Equatorial Guinea.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We'll do that another time. Right now we need a sports update. Our sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. 2 18-hole championship courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas. Book your tee time online today, dancingrabbitgolf.com. Dancing Rabbit, part of Pearl River Resort. Let's start in Oxford. Saturday night, under the lights, Vaught Hemingway Stadium, Ole Miss and Arkansas. Razorbacks missed a field goal on their opening possession of the game. For the remainder of the first half, both teams would score every single time they had the football. Ole Miss had it last, kicked a field goal going into the locker room, and the Rebels carried a 31-28 lead into the break. The prolific amount of scoring in the first half caused the in-game live total number of points. Like if you're betting, you can bet the over-under. That gets adjusted as points get scored or not scored during the course of the game. And they at one point, it was at 90.5. Second half's pretty low scoring. Ole Miss scored a touchdown in the third quarter, pushing it out to a 2-score lead. Added a field goal in the fourth. Arkansas got a late touchdown. Ole Miss created a late turnover, the only one of the game in that track meet. And the Rebels won at 41-35 to go to 3-0 on the year, 2-0 in the SEC, handing the Razorbacks an SEC loss to start conference play. Trinidad Chambliss Started in place of an injured Austin Simmons, went 21 of 29, 353 yards and a touchdown. He also ran it 15 times for 62 yards and 2 scores in the game. Keywan Lacey had a rushing touchdown. Austin Simmons came in briefly, and he threw for a touchdown on his one pass attempt. Ole Miss will host Tulane this coming Saturday, 2:30-ish kickoff.
I didn't know who in the heck that guy was other than he went to Ferris State.
Yeah, won a national championship there.
Yeah, I mean,
play.
I had this conversation 100 times. If that guy's got to play, then we're not going to be very good. Well, I'm eating crow today. You know, I texted you. I'm like, I don't know who this guy. Yeah. I don't know who this guy is, but
a flag emoji of the country of Trinidad.
I'm a huge fan of Trinidad and Tobago now, so yeah, I'm flying the flag.
We talked about how big Saturday night was in Hattiesburg. How big is it when you win Saturday night in Hattiesburg? That's what the Golden Eagles did. Hosting Appalachian State, both teams came into the game 2-0. Braylon Braxton, 22 of 30, 279, couple of touchdowns and a score. Jeffrey Pittman had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Southern Miss carried a 17-7 lead into the locker room. They outscored App State 21-15 in the second half en route to a 16-point win, 38-22 to go to 2-1 on the year and start Sunbelt Conference play with a win. Congratulations to Charles Huff and the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. He stood there in the press conference after the game and said, I'm telling you, it's not going back to how it was. It's going to be different going forward. Tell you where else it's different going forward. Starkville. Mississippi State won 2 games last year. They are 3-0 to start the 2025 season. Hosted Alcorn State. For Alcorn State's trouble, they got a big check from Mississippi State. Going to help funding the athletics department. Here's what you need to know about this game. And this is not a knock. It's just, it tells you everything you need to know about the game. Instead of playing 15-minute quarters in the second half, they played 10-minute quarters in the second half. Both teams agreed to that. Bulldogs win at 63-0. Blake Shapen, 10 of 14, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Fluff Bothwell had 2 rushing touchdowns. Xavier Gayton had a rushing touchdown. So did Seth Davis. What a cool story for him. Serious knee injury in the 2023 Egg Bowl. Questions as to whether or not he would play football. Not only did he play, but he carried it twice for 31 yards and a touchdown on Saturday night in Starkville. Blake Shapen and Luke Cromenhawk both had rushing touchdowns in the ballgame. And Kamario Taylor threw his first career touchdown as well. 63-0. State's got Northern Illinois coming in this weekend. If they win that game, they close out non-conference play 4-0 before Tennessee comes into town on the 27th. New AP Top 25 poll is out. Ohio State still number 1, Penn State 2, LSU 3. They are 3-0 to start the year. Miami 4, Georgia rounds out the top 5 after a win on the road against the Tennessee Vols on Saturday. Rest of the SEC, Texas 8, but unimpressive. Texas A&M 10, coming off a win in South Bend, Indiana against Notre Dame.
1-point win, right?
Mm-hmm. That was a good one. Oklahoma 11, Ole Miss 13, Alabama 14, Tennessee 15. Georgia Tech, after their win over Clemson, moves in at 18, not ranked previously. Vanderbilt, previously unranked, they're now 20th. Auburn 22, Missouri 23. If the poll kept going beyond 25, Mississippi State would be number 29, receiving votes and moving toward that first top 25 ranking. Ty Keys covered a lot of ground on Friday night. The Poplarville running back and 4-star prospect in the class of 2027 went for over 500 yards in a 60-54 win over Hancock. Unofficial reports early on said he went for 546, which would have broken the 10-year-old state record held by Jaylee Adams. They went back and watched and calculated, and turned out the total was 508. But with 8 touchdowns on 18 carries, 785 yards through 3 games this year for Ty Keys. Atta boy. We're back after this.
From the Bettable Glass.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We are glad to be with you on this 15th day of September. 15th
Halfway
of
there.
September, middle of the month. You got a lot going on in the month of September. A lot happening in the month of September. It is time for us to give you your Mississippi Lottery Update. The Mississippi Lottery Update is brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. No jackpot winner on Lotto America. The estimated jackpot for tonight, $2.8 million. Powerball up to $64 million after nobody won on Saturday. That is your Mississippi Lottery Update, mslottery.com. Check them out online, the Mississippi Lottery. We're talking about Ty Keys.
What a dude. Hey,
277 yards through the first two games. Now the state's leading rusher with 785 yards through week 3. The 6'1" back is nearing 20 college offers. It's been offered by Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Miami, Oregon, and Nebraska, among others. Coming off a season in which he missed 8 games due to a collarbone injury. But he earned MVP of the 4A state title game. The Hornets moved to 2-1 with the win and travel to Pearl River Central next week. Man.
it just blows your mind. Each week, there's somebody that throws up a 400 or more in the game rushing. And it's not against teams that are bad. It's just they're that good. And Ty Keys is one of those.
C-Spire text line. Taught Ty in 7th grade and knew that he'd be great even then. The rest of the scores from the SEC this past weekend, man, LSU beat Florida. And then somebody put something in Brian Kelly's Cheerios after the game because he was grumpy. Did not like the question that he got to start the press conference about why they weren't better offensively. That's what you're going to ask? He said, this team is 17-1 at night. And I wanted to be like, actually, Coach, you've only played 3 games this year. So when you say this team, are you talking about like the last 4 years? Georgia in overtime, 44-41 over Tennessee. Great game in Knoxville.
Yeah, that was a seesaw battle.
Texas 27-10 over UTEP, and Arch Manning was booed at halftime, or in the first half.
It was a game. I didn't watch that, but I didn't see.
Texas fans not happy right now.
Yeah, they didn't seem to be after the game as I looked at Twitter.
Game of the night, Texas A&M 41, Notre Dame 40. This one ended after Ole Miss and Arkansas. So Notre Dame scores a touchdown to go up 40-34. With a minute and a half left, give or take. And they miss the extra point. And you go, uh-oh. They kick off to A&M, and A&M, house call. They take it back for a touchdown. But flag down. So it comes back. And A&M drives it all the way down the field, scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point, and wins it 41-40. Huge win for the Aggies.
And both quarterbacks played very well. I mean, Marcel Reed, though, 360. I mean, it's hard to both of those teams were so evenly matched in that game. It really was an impressive ball game.
Vandy beat South Carolina 31-7 to jump into the top 25. Pavia had a couple of touchdown passes.
I didn't expect them to dominate South Carolina like that.
No, and Sellers got knocked out of the game. That probably had something to do with it. Oklahoma beat Temple 42-3. Alabama smoked Wisconsin. Auburn pretty ho-hum at home against South Alabama. Beat them 31-15. Mizzou moved to 3-0 with a 52-10 win over Louisiana. Kentucky beat Eastern Michigan. So you saying A&M got away with a tackle on the winning touchdown. They did. There's a rusher, and they held him and tackled him. Didn't call it. Yeah. It did. But I never like blaming the outcome on one single play. Yes, there should have been a flag thrown there. It was clear holding. Egregious holding. Textbook tackling even. But if you're relying on a holding call from the officials, man, it puts you in a bad spot. 7 o'clock hour on the way. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You're listening.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be starting the day with you. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Reminder that the C Spire text line is open to you. 601-879-4395. C Spire has you covered. They just make life easy. You don't have to worry about your phone. You don't have to worry about your internet. You don't have to worry about your business. Yeah. Nationwide 5G coverage. Boom, got it. Don't have to worry about your phone. When you travel, when you're at home, you got it. Don't have to worry about your internet at home. 99.99999% uptime on gigabit and faster fiber speeds directly into your home. It's almost like if the internet were a pipe instead of a little bitty fiber thread. It's like you just shove a pipe right into your home and it just pours internet in it faster than you could ever use it.
Hey, man,
the visual. I don't know if that helps or not.
I have a great. My dad, he cheaped down the DirecTV, which I hate, up at Deer Camp. So this weekend, I didn't have ESPN or anything. Mm-hmm. And this is a C Spire story. So I had to hop on the side-by-side and ride out a little ways. And I didn't have to go too far. And had I not had the amazing C Spire coverage, I would have not seen any football this weekend. I had to watch Sister Act. And Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, just to tell you how bad of a package we went with. Ooh. But even sitting at the cabin.
You got your whoopee face this weekend.
I had plenty of whoopee, brother. It was rough. But, yeah, so thank you, C Spire. I got to tune in.
And by the way, they got you covered at work as well with Business IT Solutions, and they're always people on the other end of the line in the event that you do have to call for service questions that they speak the exact same language that you do. They speak Mississippi. C Spire, inspired by you. Investigators are trying to learn more about the Charlie Kirk shooting. I'm just being honest with you for a second. I was putting the show together. I was like, obviously the lead story that we talk about is Charlie Kirk, and I actually think it kind of says something about how big a deal Charlie Kirk was that on Monday we're still talking about this.
And I think also...
Now, hold on just a second. Sorry, Lance, just for a second. What do you mean, Richard? Somebody was assassinated in broad daylight. We had the video to see it. Now, but think about it. Okay, that happened on Wednesday. So you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're now into Monday. So that means 4 solid days. And if you want to know how this story is a big deal, there's your answer. Do you realize that 4 days after an attempted assassination attempt of the president, then a candidate, Donald Trump, on his golf course, you couldn't find a word about Ryan Ruth? Nobody. Not in mainstream media, certainly. Maybe a little bit on. You couldn't find a story 4 days after it happened about the man that tried to kill the then candidate for president. Lance, am I exaggerating on that?
No. I mean,
4 days. And yet, 4 days later, if you go to the AP, you go to apnews.com, not only do you have Charlie Kirk stories on the front page, you have a tab at the top of the page that takes you to all of the Charlie Kirk stories. If you go to the Wall Street Journal, WSJ.com, you've got lead story. Charlie Kirk helped Republicans break through to young people. If you go to Reuters, I actually haven't looked here. We're just doing this in real time. I'm guessing that it's on the front page. I'm guessing. Let's scroll down just a little bit.
You also have on NBC News as of yesterday.
There it is, just below the fold. You got to scroll down like 2 clicks, and there you are with the Charlie Kirk story.
And, of course, NBC News loves a good slant. More than 100,000 people descended upon Britain's capital on Saturday for one of the country's largest far-right rallies in decades. And that was obviously a vigil for Charlie Kirk, a rally where Elon Musk was. But 100,000 Brits in London, that's how big Charlie Kirk is.
Well, and here's you know what people are talking about with that rally.
The guy that organized it.
The fact that the estimated number was 110,000, people are like, there's no way. It was closer to 1 million than it was 100,000. And you can see videos.
It's amazing.
Shoulder to shoulder for block after block after block on the street. It was way more. And that's like maybe 100,000 people showed up to mourn. And it wasn't just that they were mourning Charlie Kirk. It was probably amplified by Charlie Kirk's death. Mm-hmm. But it was a free speech rally in a place where Charlie Kirk was an outspoken critic of free speech rights being taken away. But here's the point in all of this. Sometimes when a person is living, you don't realize how big a deal they are. Like Taylor Swift is like a popular global megastar. You realize that she's a big deal. LeBron James. Everybody basically on planet Earth knows who LeBron is. Used to be that way with Michael Jordan. Probably still is for most. Tiger Woods. And Charlie Kirk? Like in terms of recognition, is that similar? Because, and I am asking that question, Jim, genuinely. And I'm not asking about popularity. I'm asking about recognition. I don't think Charlie Kirk was as known as Taylor Swift globally. I don't think. But then I start looking around, and I see college campuses all over the country with tributes and vigils to remember the life of Charlie Kirk. And I see it all over social media, obviously, but social media is not really the real world. And then I see NFL stadium after NFL stadium after NFL stadium with messages on video boards and moments of silence. And it happened at junior high and high school and college games on Saturday. It happened in the NFL on Sunday. You have rallies that are happening in European countries where they are remembering the life of Charlie Kirk. And I asked the question, was this guy a bigger deal than we realized while he was here? And maybe that's not the right question to be asking. Maybe the better question to be asking when it comes to Charlie Kirk, why? Why is he being remembered in the way that he was? Is it because we saw blood explode out of his neck on massively circulated videos on the internet? I don't think so. Now, that was real, but it was no more graphic than some video games you see with blood explosions that look very, very real. We knew this was real. So again, the question is, why? Why are they remembering Charlie Kirk in Germany? Why are they remembering Charlie Kirk in London? Why are they remembering Charlie Kirk in Oxford and Starkville and Hattiesburg and Knoxville and MetLife Stadium in New Jersey and Lambeau Field in Green Bay and AT&T Stadium in Arlington? Why? Something was different about Charlie Kirk. Was it the message? Because he's being accused of spreading a message of hatred. Oh, he was misogynistic, and he was racist, and he was homophobic. But was he really? Because there's something about the message of Charlie Kirk that got through the noise that caused people all over this country and all over the world to nearly a week later still be talking about him. What was it about his message? What could it be? What could have been so powerful about what Charlie Kirk was saying that 5 days later we're still talking about him?
From the Venable Glass.
Mississippi.
I can see by your grin that you're trembling within. It's all over town. Cheer down.
It's good to be with you on this Monday morning. Thanks for being with us. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert. You can join us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Always pleasured to welcome our first guest this morning. That guest is Joel Anand Samy. He has... Oh, wait, no. That's coming up in the next segment. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. We'll talk with Joel Anand Samy coming up in just a few minutes, and we look forward to that. A lot of you responding to the question that I kept asking a second ago, why? And I appreciate you interacting. But a lot of you responding, and largely, I think most of you know this, but largely the question was a rhetorical, and it was like a thought prompt. Not just to spit the answer out, but yes, you're exactly right. Amanda says because they recognize a truly righteous man. CC in Senatobia says he's a symbol of the truth that liberals want to silence. The reason is because of the message that is true that Kirk, remember God's word said it will not return to void. It's a spiritual movement, no denying it. The impact was because he professed his faith openly, and because of his courage to say what needed saying, the ability to back up what he was saying, the courage he had is courage that we all want, to not be afraid to stand up for. Chad says he gave us permission. Right? It's not like I give you permission to do this. But the example of standing up for what you believe in. And here's the thing about Charlie Kirk. We are more tolerant today than we were in 2020.
Well, I think that's part of what he was able to do, is that in the face of everyone being canceled, he stood up and he had the debate and he welcomed it.
Yes. So
when
there are
we were
lots
all
of
scared,
reasons.
he wasn't.
There are lots of reasons. Donald Trump was willing to push back on some things. There have been some people that have been willing to push back. But in the middle of everybody being canceled, because Charlie Kirk didn't start his work last week. It was, and by the way, later this morning, 8 o'clock hour, Evan Sanders is going to join us. Evan started working with Charlie Kirk when he had fewer than 500 followers on his social media platforms. He'd been with him from the beginning. And there was a willingness for Charlie Kirk, without being labeled a nut job, there was a willingness for him to stand up and say the things that people said, oh, you can't say that out loud. You may believe them, but you can't say them because you might be canceled. And he's like, they're canceling me. And you're not going to cancel me because there are a whole lot more people out there than you ever realize that believe exactly what I'm saying, that believe in the importance of marriage and the power of family, that believe in the teachings of God, that believe in the Constitution of the United States, who are pro-America, who are pro-family, who are pro-morality. And as he continued to have the courage to say those things, the movement that went along with grew and grew and grew. And you've probably seen this online. People say, oh, the left talks about freedom, right? They want the freedom to live the way we want to live the way I want to live without judgment. The really fascinating thing is Charlie Kirk is a guy that was without judgment. He said, I don't think this is right, but that decision is for you to make. But in the same way that you have the freedom to say, I want to go through a sex change operation with different colored hair and piercings and tattoos and use the language I want to use and sleep with the person I want to sleep with and espouse the things that I believe, and I want the freedom to do that. Charlie Kirk was like, fine, you have the freedom to do that. But I don't think that's right. And in the same way that you have the freedom to do and say what you want, I'm going to exercise the freedom to do and say what I believe. Oh, no, you can't say that, you racist. You can't say that, you homophobe. You can't say that, you xenophobe. You can't say that, you misogynist. Wait, hold on now. You get the freedom to live however you want to live. But I get the freedom to say that I disagree with that, and I think that's wrong, and here's why I think that's wrong. Oh, no. It's a one-way tolerance street. Have we said that out loud? Have we said that out loud enough? That's the difference. People are, the difference in the right and the left. And because Charlie Kirk did not conform, he was eliminated. Charlie Kirk was willing to sit and say, let's talk about this. Let's debate this. Let's have an open conversation. And let's do it without ever raising our voices.
And the other side of that, basically, if you have the guts to stand up for what you believe, if it isn't what we want to hear over here, we'll kill you. Isn't that why a lot of folks were scared to not stand up? Is because they knew the crazy was real crazy, buddy.
The Republican governor of Utah said authorities are interviewing family, friends, and acquaintances of Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson is not cooperating with authorities, but those close to him are. Arrested on suspicion of shooting Kirk at a rally Wednesday at Utah Valley University. The governor of Utah appeared on several Sunday morning news programs yesterday, said investigators were collecting forensic evidence and working to better understand his motivations. Quote, we can confirm that again, according to family and people that we're interviewing, he does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. Said that on Meet the Press. Tying a couple of stories together here. I understand that life creates change, growing creates change, becoming older and coming up with your own ideas creates change. But if you were raised in a loving family with conservative values that emphasize hard work and time together as a family and doing what's right and, you know, making sure that homework is done, academics are important, because apparently all of those things were true. A traditional family, brothers and sisters, exceptional grades, family vacations, going cool places, big presidential scholarship to Utah Valley University. And so nothing in the first 18 years of Robinson's life pointed toward this being what 4 years later it was going to look like. So how did it happen? Not all universities are like this, but when you hear the state auditor Shad White say these professors that are teaching these things, the DEI stuff, have got to be gone. This is what he's talking about. You may not agree with it. You may be like, academic freedom and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. But there is no question that liberal professors, and there are enough videos for you to spend half of your day watching them just from the last week, that professors with ideologies that are counter to the way most of us, many of us, were raised, are being delivered from a lectern and frankly then tested on in university settings across the country. And we do that in the name of enlightenment and broadening our understanding and learning all. Yeah, we do. You can learn, but what's the difference in learning and indoctrinating? Because how else do you explain how this guy gets from this point to shooting somebody in that short of a time span?
From the Seabrook.
SuperTalk, Mississippi.
If I ever settle down, you'd be my kind. And it's a good time for me to head on down the line. Heard it in love song.
Lansing, to think somebody complained about music this morning.
Everybody has opinions.
That is correct. I don't always agree with Thomas, but in this instance, I do. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. What has more influence on your kids' politics, their professors or their social media feed?
That's an interesting question, yeah.
That is a very interesting question. I started to introduce our first guest this morning in the last segment. I just was early because now we are set to visit with our friend, Anand Samy. He is co-host of America's Roundtable. You can hear that right here on SuperTalk Mississippi on the weekends. Part of the International Leaders Summit and good friend of SuperTalk Mississippi. Joel, good morning to you, my friend.
A very good morning to you, Richard and Lance. It's great to join you all on this beautiful Monday morning.
So was talking and kind of laid out the Charlie Kirk story a little bit in the last 20 minutes, half hour or so. And I think we're left with lots and lots of questions, but they're questions related to the assassination and the investigation and all of there. But I think we're left with questions of why. But not why was he killed. Why did his message, Charlie Kirk's message, resonate the way it did? And what next? I think that's the fascinating thing to see where this goal goes. So, Joel, first of all, talk to us a little about your relationship. Did you know Charlie? Did you have some interaction with him?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity joining you, Richard. Our thoughts and prayers are with Erica, the children, and the team at TPUSA. They just have done an extraordinary work under such difficult circumstances. In fact, over the years, we've really appreciated the tremendous work that Charlie accomplished. We were in the same circles, the same networks, the same gatherings. In fact, his team reached out to us not too long ago, the TPUSA chapter in New York, and asked us to be actually part of their team, partnering with them as international ambassadors. So we were truly delighted, and we're looking forward to joining Charlie and Joseph Scutts and the rest of them to make this announcement. So it's certainly something that we treasure. And, you know, as you rightfully mentioned, Charlie dedicated his life to protecting our God-given rights enshrined in the Constitution. And he really engaged in these fierce debates, but in a very principled way, respecting individuals. And he also challenged the Christian community, the pastors of the churches around the country, not just only to pray for our country, but to be engaged in the public square. And in fact, Charlie, Dr. Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee and others, we all were very concerned about the fact that evangelical Christians were not voting. And even we were really shocked to find out that 32 million evangelical Christians did not vote in the 2024 elections. And so that was Charlie's concern as well, really focusing on a reawakening in America. And he certainly did that with a young generation, but also engaging churches and pastors as well. He was a devout believer in Christ, what I would consider a modern day prophet and a great American patriot. And it is so tragic and so upsetting, to know that a young man, just a 22-year-old man, took his life away.
And Joel, one of the things that's fascinating to me is that Charlie Kirk was very much pro Donald Trump. But that does not mean that he agreed with Donald Trump on every issue. And when he disagreed, he spoke out. And sometimes that may have kind of, ruffled the feathers of people in the White House a little bit. But it was coming of a place of principle. And it's probably a reminder that we don't all have to agree on every single issue all the time, even if we're on the same team.
Absolutely. And that's what I think that all of us appreciated about Charlie. He was really grounded in principles. I mean, he knew free market principles. He knew all the great authors of our time. He was an avid reader, and he really stood by his principles. And if conservative leaders would veer off from, the path of focusing on upholding our core principles, he would certainly call that out. And but he also had a great eye of, just reaching out to people and identifying individuals. The story of how he first tracked down J.D. Vance by, sending him a message on social media and then, reaching out to him and actually endorsing him in the Senate. So, he certainly held to account those within the conservative movement, but was very much involved in engaging conservatives and identifying rising stars and leaders and bringing them into the fold. And that was Charlie. He really wanted to grow the movement, and he did that so effectively.
We're going to continue to have conversations, probably not only today, but for weeks into the future about Charlie Kirk. Joel, I do want to ask you while we have the time to visit this morning about the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. We had all the hullabaloo a few weeks ago about the summit in Alaska, and then you have European leaders that come to the United States, and it's lauded as a historic day, and all of these people are pulling together, and then we're supposed to be having a meeting between Zelensky and Putin, and then another meeting where Donald Trump is going to be there as kind of a third party. And it feels like nothing has happened in a month. What is, except for continued bombing back and forth and escalation within the war? What's going on here?
Well, I think there is a defining moment at this very juncture. Trump has finally called Russia the aggressor in the war against Ukraine. And by labeling Russia as the aggressor, it really shows that President Trump is taking a new direction. We also know that he has been pressing the European Union to stop buying oil from Russia. In fact, we have Hungary and Slovakia that are still purchasing oil. We also have Croatia that is a transit nation, a transit route for these alternative supplies to other European Union countries. We also have India, which actually racked up, they had just purchased about 1% of oil before the Ukraine war. And now they're up to about purchasing 40% of Russian crude, getting it through their refineries and exporting it to the rest of the world. So that has to stop. And I think this is the moment that we have to communicate to nations that are trading with America that if you want to do so, it is time to cut off all your ties to Russia. It's going to be hard to do that with China, but I think Putin has really showed his true self by even the drones that went into Poland, the drones that went into Romania. This is not just a mistake or a miscalculation. This is trying to test and gauge the response of America, of NATO. And I think Putin is really making a wrong decision. I think he is going to be facing a lot of challenges, not just only, with the cutoff of some of these countries not purchasing oil, but the fact that, he's got to experience these internal pressures within Russia. Yeah. You have all these bodies of dead Russian soldiers coming back to the country. And I'm sure that's going to be fueling concerns for him and his close circle within the Kremlin.
Vladimir Putin has shown us time and time again that he's not willing to act until he's pushed, until he's backed into a corner. Right? I mean, it wasn't until the economic sanctions or the threat of the retaliatory tariffs went into effect that he's like, oh, let's go to Alaska. Let's sit down and talk about this. Is that what's going to happen to get him to capitulate for this to come to an end? Like, it's got to stop being a threat. It's got to be, okay, these are the things that are in place.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Richard. In fact, if India is able to stop purchasing Russian crude oil, if the European Union does the same as well, that's going to really put a great amount of pressure on Putin and the Kremlin.
But we have to convince them to do that, right?
Absolutely. We've got to actually push these secondary sanctions. We've got to increase that tariff on India if it so chooses to continue its relationship. And we also have to call to account and hold to account India in this whole process. It wants to trade with America. It says and proclaims that it's a democratic nation that is focused on protecting the sovereignty of nations, and yet its credentials on the democratic front are questioned when it is siding with Russia. It's hanging out with Xi Jinping. And that doesn't send a strong signal of India's democratic credentials. It really questions all, the questions are are out there about really where does India want to be. It cannot be a world leader if it certainly props up dictators and those that are against the Western civilization.
And ultimately where China wants to be. China can pretend to be aligning with India. They can pretend to be aligning with Russia. But we know that ultimately China is about China and what is best for them. Is it best for them to side with Russia and probably push them toward a conflict with the United States? Or is it better for them to sit this one out for now and say, sorry, we're not quite ready to go fully to war with the United States, which nobody wants. That's not good for anybody.
Absolutely. And China has been fueling all that's transpiring in Russia. If we want to think about their close alliance, their partnership, bringing Putin to Beijing, at that military parade with the North Korean leader, the dictator there. And, basically you're dealing with an axis of upheaval, an axis of evil that we're having to face as Americans.
Joel, unfortunately, we're out of time. I appreciate, as always, your time. Joel, Anand Samy, America's Roundtable. Thank you, my friend.
From the Venerable Glass.
B.
There's some things that we need to revisit. Good to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks to Joel and Anand Samy for joining me from America's Roundtable. JT Mitchell will be along in the 8 o'clock hour. Last couple of segments of the show, we'll talk news stories with him. And looking forward to a conversation to start the 8 o'clock hour with Evan Sanders. Evan worked alongside Charlie Kirk from the beginning. And we'll talk some about their relationship and what he saw. I'm going to ask him the question why as well. Why is it that Charlie's message connected? Why is it that his message resonated? Why is it that TPUSA grew in the way that it grew? Because he had a front row seat to watch it happen. I'm going to ask a couple of questions that I'm afraid are going to make some of us uncomfortable. I found that to be the case talking about this with some people on Friday. Largely speaking, the right vilified the ideas behind cancel culture. Right? I mean, you remember when people were getting canceled left and right, sometimes for valid reasons. But the idea that because of something you said or something that you posted, your entire life should be destroyed was not a good one. Now, there were people who were exposed for wrongdoings, and they should have been exposed for wrongdoings. And the results of that are probably what was deserved. But generally speaking, Republicans, conservatives kind of decried cancel culture. And as we talked about earlier, much of what Charlie Kirk was like, I don't care about your cancel culture. I'm going to say what I believe. And that message resonated. But there is a movement online to take all of the people that spoke ill of the dead, who celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk, and to point them out and to call them out and to expose them online and to get them fired from their jobs, causing them to lose their income, that was the right thing to do. There's a level of hypocrisy in that. And I'm not saying that those terminations are wrong. In fact, I think probably they are very, very justified in a lot of cases. But Which is it? You believe in people losing their jobs based on what they say, or you don't believe in people losing their jobs for what they say? Or is it what's good for the goose is good for the gander? Or is it what's good and convenient for me at a given time is what I believe? Or is it fight fire with fire? I don't think it's a simple question to ask. But I think it's like, if you ever find yourself in a time where you're thinking, in a deer stand, on a walk, maybe you meditate, which I guess if you're meditating, you're supposed to like push everything out of your mind and try to just focus on whatever it is you're supposed to focus on. I'm not a big meditator. Maybe I should be. It's left with an uncomfortable question, isn't it? Lance, you get what I'm at least asking?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a tough question. It really is, because we went through so much in those few years with the cancel culture. And yes, there's many people lost jobs and were chastised for things they said. And in many cases, it was probably well-deserved. And then you flip the script over to now, and it's on the other side. And again, I don't know how you answer that. I don't think fighting fire with fire and all this is going to settle it down. But again, you can't cave in and do nothing. You can't sit back and just allow it all to unfold and go, well, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's always going to be.
Do you allow one side to use a weapon, but then refuse to use the weapon yourself? And maybe that's a question that people are confronted with right now. And then there's the free speech conversation. Yes, the First Amendment protects your right to free speech. What it does not protect is your right to, it doesn't protect you from consequence. And people go, well, hold on a second. If I'm punished for free speech, then is that actually free speech? And people are kind of pointing that out. That no. The difference is you're not jailed for free speech unless your free speech incites violence, in which case then you can be held accountable for it. You're not free from consequence, though, just because you are allowed free speech.
Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
8 o'clock hour on this Monday morning, September 15th. Glad to have you along. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. We welcome you to join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Evan Sanders is an ambassador for Turning Point USA. It is not his full-time job, but he has been with TPUSA since the very beginning. And was a close friend with Charlie Kirk. Evan, kind enough to spend a few minutes with us this morning. Evan, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Really appreciate your time, and certainly offer our condolences to you and so many that were close with Charlie. As I mentioned, you've been with him since a really long time. I was going through your Instagram and the pictures of you when you were with Charlie at the very beginning to where you are now. Like all of us, you have changed. You've grown a lot. Talk to us a little bit about the relationship that you had and what you saw firsthand with Charlie.
Of course. So, just to give you like a brief overview. So I graduated high school at a school in Natchez, Mississippi. For those that are familiar with it, it's like kind of like a smaller New Orleans, charming feel. So that summer of 2017, I was looking for, I guess, like kind of leadership conferences and also conferences that are related to the conservative movement. And then I saw an ad for Turning Point USA, and then, at the time, the website was pretty brand new. It wasn't nearly as innovative as it is today. So clicked on the website, saw Charlie Kirk was the founder and everything. Went to his Instagram. He had probably like 460 followers at the time. So I sent him a DM and I said, hey, I see your first conference coming up. So, I'd really love to join you. It was me and about 70 other students at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And, since then, like Turning Point USA, it used to be like very intimate. It was pretty much like a small field from the beginning. At that point, Charlie was like kind of brand new to his role and ideas and everything. Like he was just a guy from Illinois that had this brilliant startup idea. And, I'm really impressed to see how far he's come over the course of the last 8 years. But, at that point, like he would sit down, he would have lunches with us. We talked like every few months. So it's been like a consistent friendship. I wouldn't classify him as like a best friend by any means, but like I would definitely say we would be there for each other if we needed anything, if that makes sense.
There have been so many online remembrances of Charlie, and one of the things that I thought was interesting and kind of spoke maybe to who he was talking about these Turning Point events, and that there would be breakout sessions, and he would go around to each table and introduce himself and engage with the people that were at the event. And you said one of those first events, or that very first event, probably 70 people that were there, and then it grew to 700, and then maybe 7,000. But the way that he engaged with the people that were part of Turning Point never changed, that he continued to go around and meet and try to really get to know the people that were there. Did you see that?
Absolutely. I think Charlie's been very humble and warm and welcoming from the very beginning. Even as his following grew to, I think it's over 11 million now on Instagram. Like one could say like he's very busy, but at the same time, like at all his events, he definitely does make time to, introduce himself to as many people as possible. Like, and while he is the founder and I guess this quote unquote famous person now, he still doesn't like act really uppity about it. He doesn't have that really big ego. I mean, I'm sure he's proud of himself like we all are, but he just acts like a normal person,
Yeah. There are lots of different ways that people are talking about this story and covering this story, and we've tried to be a little bit different, at least this morning, in the way. And I've asked the question why, and what I'm getting at is why is it that Charlie's message resonated with so many people, especially young people? But because I think most people know, and I mean you're an example. When you were young, you kind of gravitated to this movement. So why is it that Charlie was able to connect? Why is it that his message was able to resonate the way that it did?
Again, I just think his humbleness. I think he had a very strong level of emotional maturity. I think he had a lot of relatability to, younger conservatives that were kind of shut out. I'll say like my initial starting point in politics was right before the 2016 election. Like I was very open about, my conservative beliefs, my values, everything. And even out of school in Mississippi, I lost a few friends for supporting Trump. And then, once I saw that Turning Point USA was this new startup for all these conferences and events for young conservatives to kind of come together, I said, this is a great idea. So I DM'd Charlie, went to their first event, and ever since then, it's just been a great journey for me, both professionally, like on a personal level, and just like spiritually. I just feel a lot more at ease knowing that there's so many people that come together to support each other.
So we know that Charlie and Turning Point were scheduled to be in Oxford at the end of October at Ole Miss, on the Ole Miss campus. That would have been his first event here. I think it was scheduled for October 29th, and already there had been a great deal of people reaching out for tickets for that event as it went to college campuses all over the place. There's been a lot of talk, and you've seen a lot of people say that even though Charlie is no longer with us, that this movement will continue. Is this one of those things where people are a prisoner of the moment, and it's the way that they can offer support in the immediate aftermath of tragedy? Or is this Turning Point USA movement, and that's the word I'm using to describe it, something that is going to continue to not only exist, but to grow and to thrive?
Absolutely. And, I think everyone is just kind of, coming together over this. I think a lot more people are kind of like being activated, per se, due to this incident. And, there's been like over 18,000 chapter requests since that incident. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes in this direction.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes when there is a leader who is no longer with us, it leaves a leadership gap, a void, if you will. Is there a single person that you expect to kind of take up the mantle, or is this going to be more of a collective going forward?
Honestly, I can't see anyone fill in his place, so I really think it's going to be collective overall, just, this younger generation kind of coming together.
Evan, what is your lasting memory of Charlie going to be? And you spoke to your relationship, that it wasn't a best friend thing. It wasn't you talked every single day, but certainly you had been there since the beginning and communicated on a fairly regular basis. So what are you going to remember about Charlie?
Definitely the humility, the humbleness, the eagerness to learn, no matter how much of an expert you are, no matter how much reading you do, there's always, a way to self-improve, per se, and like on an emotional level, on a physical level. And I think he just really hit all those notches, and I think he was just an inspiration for me personally.
Do you view Charlie and Turning Point as a political movement or as a spiritual movement?
I'll say it's kind of a hybrid. He's had a lot of growth in his Christianity over the course that I've known him. So, there's certain videos or certain podcasts to listen to him that are more, in line with the Christian spiritual values, and then there's more that are on the political side. So I think it's a great skill to kind of differentiate the two and, know the role of each video and what it plays in your life.
Really an incredible figure who grew from a very small following to a very, very large movement. Evan, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for sharing. And again, we offer our condolences to you, and we'll continue to focus on this going forward. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Evan Sanders, Mississippi native, Natchez, Mississippi. And you heard him say he graduated high school and was kind of trying to figure out where to go next, and was looking for conservative causes, organizations, conferences, leadership-related roles, and found Turning Point USA in its infancy. Was part of that very first conference that they had in Washington, D.C. back in 2018, I think it was, and has been part of it along the way. Appreciate Evan joining us this morning. We've got more coming up with you. You can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. A quick time out. We got more coming up. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
The mountains win again.
From the Venable Glass Track,
Mississippi.
Reminder to you that this morning and every morning, the 7 o'clock hour of the show is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601 206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. That's mwgemployerservices.com. Brian and Madison on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, if you want to join the conversation. He says on the question of Turning Point USA as a political movement versus a Christian movement, he says, I think Charlie was using the political movement as a platform to share his faith in Jesus, who he was so passionate about. There may be something to that, Brian. And probably a lesson for all of us in that you may not be a pastor in the sense that you stand up and you preach at church on Sunday morning, or you teach a Bible class, or you lead a Bible study. But there is opportunity within whatever your platform is, whatever your job is, however you interact with people on a daily basis, to make a difference. William in Laurel says, I believe teachers and CEOs should be fired for posting negative things about Charlie under the guise of code of business conduct. I don't think we've seen much in the way of CEOs. Maybe there's some that are out there. It's been more lieutenants than generals that have been speaking out. And there have been a lot of places that have come out publicly and said, no, this is not what we are going to allow within our organization. And I think those in position of leadership are well within their rights to hand out the discipline that's necessary. Because again, it's about your freedom of speech is intact.
Well, and the other side is if it's not congruent with corporate policy, then you're more than welcome to be fired. My parents worked for 80-plus years for two corporations between the two, AIG and Allstate. I understand what the corporate culture is. Mm-hmm. When you go work for a business, it is not your mouth that they want to hear from. They want to hear about your production. It's all about making money. Yeah. And the moment that goes against their policy, where their job is to return money to shareholders and grow a business, if you're not part of that, you can go. And I firmly believe that. Every corporation, if you have employees that are not pulling their weight and they're too busy on social media and out popping off instead of doing their job, fire them. I have no problem with that. But I don't believe we should cancel folks because they have an opinion. Even if you don't like the opinion, but stick to your opinion in your private time. And if you think that your corporation is not looking at your Facebook account, or if a job in the future that you may want, you think people aren't looking at that, hey, go for it. Say whatever you want.
Well, and a reminder that words matter.
Words matter.
It was a little sobering last week to think, okay, I spend 3 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday talking into this microphone. Spend 3 hours on Monday afternoon talking into a microphone. And I spend about 4 hours on Saturdays talking into a microphone for everybody to hear. And you better believe that was a reminder that, the things that you say into said microphone could have consequence. You better choose your words carefully. So, TeleSouth, SuperTalk Mississippi Media, is my primary employer. ESPN, which is owned by Disney, is my secondary employer. Two companies that are vastly different, by the way. But yeah. a reminder that, there is nothing keeping me from saying something inflammatory into this microphone right now. But if what I say is hateful or derogatory or has a negative impact on the business operations of TeleSouth, SuperTalk Mississippi Media during the week, or ESPN on the weekend, then those I'm not going to jail for what I say unless it were to incite violence. But does not make me free from consequence of what I say into that microphone. So if I say something on a Saturday during a football game that is racially charged or hate-filled or something that incites violence, then I could be held accountable for that, and I could lose my opportunity to work for ESPN and to broadcast games. If I say something this morning or tomorrow morning that incites violence, then I could be in trouble legally. But if I say something that is hateful or derogatory or inappropriate, then I could lose my job. That doesn't mean that my free speech rights were impinged upon. I wouldn't go to jail for something that I said, absence something that incites violence. But it doesn't mean that I couldn't lose my job because I affect the business operations of my company. And I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of these terminations that are happening across the country. We've seen it in Mississippi, but happening all across the country where people are saying, no, you work for us. And us allowing you to speak in a way that is hateful or is derogatory is not something that is good for our business operation going forward, be it a private company, a public company, or a publicly funded company like a college or a university. So there's a lot there, and the I don't think it's disingenuousness. I think it's just a lack of understanding when you hear people say, "Oh, they infringed upon his First Amendment rights, didn't have the freedom to say what they." No, they had the freedom to say it.
Yeah, and there are consequences to that.
Just not freedom of consequence for your words if it affects the person that is propping up your livelihood.
Well, and as Tom says, it was a termination because of what they said or termination because of rabid virtue signaling. It doesn't matter. The corporation has the right to fire their employee anytime they want if they're not doing what they were hired to do, period. Yeah. That's not free speech. That is, you work for an employer, period. And if that is affecting their business model and they have told you don't do this stuff, hey, I'm sorry if you got fired, buddy. I've been let go for doing a great job. And didn't do anything wrong. So I have no sympathy for people that run their trap and then get fired. None.
Let's go to a good story here for Mississippi just for a minute. JT Mitchell from the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team going to join us on the other side of the break. HII is America's largest shipbuilder, and it is the parent company of Ingalls, massive shipyard in Pascagoula, largest manufacturing employer in the state of Mississippi. Nearly 11,000 people work for Ingalls. HII announced on Thursday that the company is partnering with shipyards and fabricators in multiple states to grow its throughput, its production, and meet the increased demand for ships by the U.S. Navy. With its customer support, HII said it is bringing the work to more companies and more jobs in more states, expanding capacity of the U.S. shipbuilding industrial base and improving schedule adherence for all ships built by HII. For Ingalls, means that select outfitted structural units for Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are being constructed, inspected, and accepted at partner locations and later delivered to the Pascagoula shipyard for final integration. I bring this story up to point out how important Ingalls is to the state of Mississippi. I feel like sometimes we talk at Ingalls or kind of loosely around it. Oh, big employer and so much going on. And maybe we even fail to recognize how big of an impact Ingalls is making, not just on Mississippi, but on the United States and on the military. Well, Ingalls Shipyard right now, in a lot of ways, tip of the spear for this revamping of the U.S. Navy. I mean, they are trying to bring more boats online as quickly and as safely as they possibly can, and Ingalls is going to continue to play a massive role in that. Right here in Mississippi, in Pascagoula, USA. Quick time out. JT Mitchell from the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team joins us on the other side of this break. Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.
Good to be with you on this Monday morning. JT Mitchell stops by the studio, as he always does, for the last couple of segments of the Monday show. Talk about the news from the weekend and what we're looking toward this week as well. We do have news this morning at the national level. Kash Patel was on Fox and Friends doing an interview this morning, and he broke some news. There are a lot of people that have just made the assumption that Tyler Robinson is the killer, but from a law enforcement perspective, they've still got to prove it. And Kash Patel took some steps toward proving that this morning, or at least saying that they've got the evidence to prove that. He said, quote, "I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver that was found on the roof are positively processed for the suspect in custody. The firearm itself, that is being processed by ATF laboratories in Maryland, and I believe they will speak to that at a later date when their processing is complete." So despite the fact that Tyler Robinson himself does not appear to be cooperating with authorities, you have friends, colleagues, people that knew him who are cooperating with authorities, and you now have DNA evidence tied to the crime itself that is a positive match with Tyler Robinson. So sounds like the feds trying to get all of their ducks in a row before moving forward with the prosecution and ultimately the trial. And we've heard from both the governor of Utah and from the president of the United States that they will seek the death penalty. Going to have both state and federal charges, it sounds like, because you've got jurisdiction for both in this case. And we will keep an eye on where that goes. Somebody said we still don't have the bullet that matches the gun. I don't know. We'll see. JT Mitchell, the news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team. Good morning to you, my friend.
Hey, Richard. How are you?
Great. Glad to be with you on a Monday morning, as always. Had the Mississippi Book Festival this weekend. I've talked to some people who were there, and they said it was attended well and seemed to be a great success. I know you were there.
Yeah, it was another good edition. Every year, I never leave the book festival not impressed, okay? And so we got word later on Saturday that around 8,000 people came to the Capitol for the event itself. And then if you add in all the different events that the festival does beforehand, which people don't realize, the book festival holds a lot of reading the room events. They'll go to different coffee shops across the state and ask book lovers to come out, bring their favorite book, talk with fellow book lovers. They also do kids programming in the Delta and Jackson. So when you take all of that into account, over 23,000 people participated in this year's book festival.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and it was good. I texted with Ricky Matthews this morning, who moderated the panel on the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and he was just on cloud nine. He thought it turned out fantastic. Former Governor Haley Barbour was in that one, as well as Jim Barksdale, Dr. Mark Keenum, Speaker Pro Tem Manley Barden, and it went about as well as it could have.
On the 20-year anniversary, just a few days after the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, we had Jonathan Allen on the show on Thursday morning. I thought a great conversation with him, and he was there as kind of the headliner for the Mississippi Book Festival.
Oh, that was a great interview. I was really impressed with Jonathan Allen. And, he came on your show, and he's one of many authors who have pretty much said that this is one of their favorite events every year. I personally think it's one of the best book festivals in the entire region. I'm
assuming you've been to some others as well?
Yeah, and New Orleans has some great ones. There are a lot of good literature events in the South, a lot of good writers from the South.
Absolutely.
But Jonathan Allen, hearing him talk about his book, which, as you know, was about the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah.
And, he is a journalist at the end of the day. And he pretty much said that he tried to put it on paper as it happened. X, Y, Z. No bias.
There wasn't a lot of need for dramatization of the 2024 presidential election. It was drama-filled on its own.
You're exactly right. I mean, everything from President Biden stepping out late to President Trump, the assassination attempt. And Jonathan even told you, and he told people at the festival as well, that he wasn't going to do a book on this election.
Yeah.
They had done previous election books and said, this one we probably won't do. And then everything just started happening. And they said, we have to do a book on this one. And so he was there. There were a lot of good authors. I mean, you had Pulitzer winners like Kai Bird. They're behind the Oppenheimer blockbuster, the book itself. Geraldine Brooks. Wright Thompson from Clarksdale. He was there to talk about his Emmett Till book. You had Rick Cleveland and some other sports writers from the state talking about the history of Mississippi baseball. Overall, if you didn't make it this year, just mark your calendar for next year. It is a fantastic event.
We've got an Emmy Award winner from Mississippi. What are the details there?
I like how we're talking about good news this morning, Richard. This is refreshing. Typically, we get on here and you and I are, we're just bad news bears. But, so last night was the 77th Primetime Emmy Awards. And have you seen Severance? Have either of y'all seen Severance?
Yeah, I have.
Great show. I did not think I would like it.
Probably not for young guys.
Not for young guys, but if you're a parent out there listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking. I was thinking about Succession, Severance. I have not seen Severance. Is that one I need to watch?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And even when you read the description, I'm like, I'm not wowed by this. But then once we started watching it, I was hooked. I mean, we probably binge watched it in a couple weeks. And so now we're waiting season 3. But there's a character in Severance, and his name is Seth Milchick. Lots of people, he's kind of a villain, but lots of people are sympathetic about Seth Milchick. And the guy who plays Seth Milchick, Trammell Tillman, small world enough, graduated from the Jackson State University. And he got his first Emmy last night at 40 years old, made history while doing it as well. The first black man to ever win supporting actor in a drama series. And he didn't even really get a role on TV until he was 30 years old. And this was kind of his breakout role, and now he's an Emmy winner.
Outstanding. Forever to thee, Jackson State.
And I can't give too much away. I don't want to give spoilers out there. But Severance is kind of an unnerving sci-fi deal, and you just got to go watch it. But in the final episode of season 2, he leads a marching band. And afterward, I was like, there's got to be some HBCU connection here. And so I started doing some research, and I found out that he was at Xavier in New Orleans, and Hurricane Katrina hit. And his parents said, we'd like for you not to stay down there. We've checked out Jackson State. We think that'd be a good place for you to move a little more north and get your degree. So he came to JSU. He switched from pre-med to mass communications and started doing some acting on the side. And he did kind of consult the sonic boom when doing that scene in the season finale. So lots of Mississippi at the Emmys. You also had Parker Posey from Laurel. She fell just short for her White Lotus role. She should have won. The Pit, I've never even heard of The Pit, but The Pit won a lot of stuff last night.
Yeah.
And that's who Catherine Lanasa beat Posey for that award.
I think I conflated two alma maters when I said Forever to Thee for Jackson State. I was like fact-checking. I think it's The I Love.
It is The I Love.
The I Love, not Forever to Thee. So, The I Love. Trammell Tillman, congratulations. It can't just be all sunshine and roses and donuts this morning. I do have to ask you about this. We got a National Guard announcement from Donald Trump. He's been talking about Chicago with a ton of pushback about National Guard coming to the city. And so Donald Trump seems to have adjusted his sights to a Mid-South city, Memphis, Tennessee, another place with significant crime. There has been already some pushback from politicians associated with Memphis about the possibility of the National Guard coming in. Is that going to happen?
As of now, yes, I would say. I mean, it happened in D.C., and L.A. was a little bit different because that was more so focused on immigration. As of now, I do believe that the president has his sights set and are not taking them away from Memphis, Tennessee. You know, you're right. You do have, if you look at the political scale, a lot of people who represent Tennessee, like the governor and Marsha Blackburn, they're in favor of it.
Yeah.
The president went on Fox News and said the mayor is happy. Well, the mayor said differently. The mayor said, we're always open to federal collaboration, bring in the FBI, work with MPD, but I think there are better ways to go about trying to reduce crime in Memphis. Mayor Paul Young also said that Memphis is at a 25-year low in violent crime. And so those same Republicans who are for this move of troops going to Memphis say, well, let's get a check on that as well. We'd like to get a double check on police data.
We heard that out of Washington, D.C. initially as well, and then we saw the results become pretty good pretty fast in our nation's capital, and that seems to be, they're still debating about what it's going to look like going forward. I'm sorry, the voices of politicians who say, no, we don't want this, ring kind of hollow because it feels like they just think their territory is being stepped on. More with JT coming up.
From the Venable Glass.
Continuing with JT Mitchell, news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team. One more thing about the National Guard issue in Memphis and whether or not federal troops will be on the ground in Memphis to try and help with crime issues there. There is an effect on the state of Mississippi from crime in Memphis, DeSoto County in particular, neighboring Shelby County to its immediate north, and we have seen a lot of traffic come out of Memphis into the state of Mississippi, particularly in DeSoto County. The district attorney in DeSoto County has some thoughts on Memphis and the National Guard as well, right?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, because a lot of people out there might be saying, why are they talking about Memphis on SuperTalk Mississippi? Because there is an impact. Even if crime is down in Memphis, the crime that is still there does linger across state lines. I mean, if you've never been up there, you don't realize how close the DeSoto County area is to Memphis. A lot of people who work in Memphis live in DeSoto County.
Yeah, other than a sign on the side of the road, you don't know when you've left Mississippi and crossed into Tennessee.
That's exactly right. And so we got word from District Attorney Matthew Barton after President Trump first kind of said, yeah, I think we're going to send troops to Memphis. And DA Barton, he's all for it. He issued a pretty strong statement. I won't read it all, but he did blame Memphis police for what he believes is too much of a catch and release policy. Catch, charge, let go. And then whether it gets back to the courts or not.
That was funded by Soros-related organizations.
And DA Barton, he said...
Talking about Memphis, not DeSoto County.
Right.
Sorry.
He said, quote, "We'll keep taking their trash out, but let me be clear. My office welcomes President Trump's deployment of National Guard to Memphis. They're on the brink of being so far gone it may never be recognizable again. And DeSoto County will not be next. We will not let Memphis's mistakes destroy the strong communities, excellent schools, and attractive economy we have built here in DeSoto County." Olive Branch Mayor Ken Adams, he had similar thoughts. He said he compared criminals to cockroaches. He said that when you put light on cockroaches, They scatter everywhere. He said the light that could come from federal involvement could bring criminals more so into DeSoto County. And he said his law enforcement and the DA's office will be ready to, he said, ready to be able to capture the scrambling cockroaches.
All right. We'll keep an eye on that story. Big football weekend here in the state of Mississippi. We talked about a record-setting performance at the high school level with Ty Keys on Friday night. Saturday was when college football took center stage. Huge win for Southern Miss. Huge win for Ole Miss. Huge win for Mississippi State. So a lot of smiles on this Monday morning for college football fans.
Yeah, I think everybody out there is pretty happy. We'll see what Week 4 has to say about that. But it is the first time since 2014 that both Ole Miss and Mississippi State are 3-0 in the same year. So that's assuring. I mean, that's 11 years ago, guys.
Yeah.
What have we been doing? And so 3-0 in Oxford and Starkville and Hattiesburg. I knew, Richard, that the tail end of the Will Hall era was ugly. I knew that. But I did not realize that this was their first FBS win since November of 2023.
Didn't have one last year.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And it was also their first conference win since 2023 as well. But lots of cool storylines. I'm sure y'all touched on it in the 6 o'clock hour. I know it stinks for Ole Miss that Austin Simmons is hurt. But what about Trinidad Chambliss, a D2 guy coming in hot?
Yeah. Yeah, you look at the conference standings right now. Ole Miss's schedule a year ago looked like Mississippi State's schedule this year in that they played all 4 of their non-conference games to start the year last season. That's how Mississippi State's schedule shakes out this year. Final non-conference game coming up against Northern Illinois. But you look at SEC standings and Ole Miss, back-to-back SEC games in weeks 2 and 3. They are 2-0. And you've only got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other teams that have played an SEC game so far. So good place for Ole Miss to be. They've got a big one coming up with Tulane on Saturday. That's on Saturday afternoon. Mississippi State on Saturday afternoon at home as well. For Mississippi State, a win against Northern Illinois on Saturday puts them in a spot to have an unbelievable atmosphere build-up on September 27th when Tennessee comes to town for the SEC opener.
Yeah, and I think Tennessee is better than people thought. I know they lost over the weekend, but Tennessee is a stout group up there. I don't know if they should be number 15. They should be higher.
Maybe. We got that new AP poll out today. Talked about it a little bit earlier this morning. Ole Miss up to number 13 in the rankings. If you're putting stock in the AP poll, though, you're probably wasting your time. If you dig into the way that some of the people that are part of that organization vote, it leaves you with more questions than answers. There is no question. JT, thank you as always. Continued good work, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Richard.
We'll talk to you next Monday. Lance, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, sir.
And always a pleasure to be with you. We'll do it again tomorrow starting just after 6 a.m. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Have a great Monday.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.